Why, hello, YouTube. Welcome back. This is BalorMage again, and as you can see in the background, we are popping off. We managed to make the poison transition today, just like we hoped. It is fantastic. I am still on a 5-link. It's doing significantly better than it was as a hit variant, and I'm super excited about it. However, many people in chat have been like, Balor, the blessings are so expensive. I can never afford to get a United in Dream. They're out of reach. What do I do? Good news, everybody. You don't need the United in Dream to go poison. We saw the price of that. We couldn't afford it either. So we worked with what we had, and we decided to go with the unupgraded sword that's severed in sleep, which, as of recording this video, is currently 50 chaos instead of a ridiculous amount of divines for the other one. So we had to make some adjustments. We'll go over them in a minute, but as soon as we went poison, the moment in a 5-link, it's back. Everything's back. We're annihilating maps. We're clearing everything. We don't care about most of the map mods in existence anymore. We can just run through all of the things. I can do guardians and bosses, and I can do boss carries, and I can do everything. I do not have a heal on block shield yet, so I am still a little bit squishy since that's where most of my defenses were supposed to come from, and I just never did it. But I will have all the recovery in the world as soon as I do that as well, and then we'll be off to the races. So this has been an absolutely fantastic league start. Let's jump into the path of building and go over what we did to go poison and how you can do it super cheap to hopefully save you a bunch. All right, so you can see I'm still logged into game behind there. You will notice I do have my little animate guardian. He is just in some baby gear. I will actually list the animate guardian gear in the notes section, so anybody who wants it can grab an animate guardian, set him up. I only set him up once I went poison. We also did change specters. These are the normal poison specters, the Arena Master and the Pale Sephirim. I'm not sure how to pronounce that at all. But those are the two specters we're using. While I was the hit SRS variant, I was using Carnage Chieftains instead. They were fine. These are slightly better. I just didn't bother to change it. These are much better once we're poison. So, moving on. This league, the Severed in Sleep, instead of the United in Dream, the unupgraded sword, gained a level 25 envy. It did not have level 25 envy before. That's what's allowed us to use it now when we couldn't before. So, it also comes with minions have a 60% chance to inflict wither on hit. Unfortunately, no poison, but wither's good, but we were already getting wither from Withering Step. So what we did was we pulled Withering Step out and we put in chance to poison. So that gave us 40% of our poison back instead of 60, but it also gave us a pretty decent chunk of flat added chaos damage. This might actually work out slightly better than the other sword. This might actually be an upgrade. So we did that, and then with a total of 3 jewels, 2 in the belt for 15% chance to poison each, and 1 on the tree, which I don't know which one it is. It's this one. We have just over 100% chance to poison, so we needed 3 jewels total. If you're happy to concede and have a 3rd jewel on the tree, you actually do not need that well of a rolled Stygian Vice. I think it was somewhere around like the mid to high 60% increased effect that I needed. It'll be different for everyone depending on how much poison chance you've got on your jewels and etc. But you don't actually need a well-rolled one. I bought a 60% one for I think 20 chaos, and that was enough to cap me. I dropped this one myself later in the day and was just like, hey, there's no way I'm not going to put on the 92. There are still other stats on these jewels, right? Life and flat chaos damage and whatnot. So I'm still gonna put on the higher one. But you don't need one. They're quite cheap. So that's really nice. 3 jewels total, 2 for the belt, but 2 for the belt and 1 in the tree, plus the chance to poison support instead of Withering Touch. And there we are, we're done. Now, something else, I picked up a Covenant. Now, I had that yesterday. I mentioned it in yesterday's video. In case you haven't seen it, it wasn't part of the original build guide. The reason it wasn't part of the original build guide is because I had fully expected, 100% sure in my head, that the Covenant was going to be 10 Divines 3 hours in, and by the end of 24 hours, 25 Divines. That's what I thought the price was going to be. More expensive than the entire build from head to toe. I didn't want to include it in the build guide because I was just like, that's going to be way too expensive for everyone. Turns out, still, at least comparatively, very cheap. Still very cheap. This thing deserves to be 20 to 25 Divines, but it ain't. So if you can afford it, you should get it. It is the best in-slot chest for Poison SRS. You cannot beat it. If I had a 3 rare budget, I'd just be wearing a corrupted version of the Covenant. So if you can afford it, do pick one of those up. We now have 12.6 mil DPS, which is quite nice. It is worth noting I also picked up a Aminamu's Gaze. Nailed it. Those were quite good. That was actually only 2 Divines, which is also surprisingly cheap. I would have expected that to be 10 or 12 by now, but it isn't. I'm not sure if there's just not enough people playing Poison SRS for it to matter, or if it's taking significantly longer to get to the point where you would swap to Poison because no one can get United in Dream, and so we didn't know how to do it, and that's the reason none of these things are low, or none of these things are expensive. I'm unsure. I really don't know what's happening with the market, so I'm not really going to promise anything with prices. I'm just telling you how we did it. Now, that Gaze is worth like 2 and a bit mil damage, so that's pretty damn good, but definitely not mandatory. It's also worth noting that if I were not in the Covenant, then I would have a 6th link. So we do have 12.6 mil damage right now. And if I was just in a random 6th link I had bought from the market for 30 chaos instead of a Covenant, I would have minion damage instead. And in a 6th link, we'd be looking at 10 million damage instead of 12. Because we'd have one more link, but we'd lost the Covenant. So the Covenant is better in a 5 link than a normal 6 link is. But a normal 6 link without the Covenant is still 10 million damage. And we were doing 2.5 as non-poison. So you're still like 4 times as good. It's still an amazing change. This is something you should change over to as soon as you can afford to do so. Being poison is all of the damage. If anybody has a quick look at this path of building and they wonder what's going on over here and why I have Wither and Temp Chains, the answer is I don't. The level 1 Temp Chains is handed out by Animate Guardian, but I can't put that into path of building. And I can't tick, do I have stacks of Wither in the effective DPS window over here without putting Wither somewhere in the path of building, because it apparently doesn't know that the line is on the weapon. It's like not parsing that, it doesn't exist. So that's interesting. The one other thing I'd like to do is show everyone how to tell where your poison chance is, because this gets confusing. So important. You need to come over to the calcs page. You need to select any minion, ideally your actual Summon Raging Spirit that you're using, but realistically, any minion. In fact, where is my Summon Raging Spirit? Okay, you're going to get lost for a second here while I look for... here he is, Summon Raging Spirit. Now from here, you can click show minion stats, and now you get all the minion stats right here, including their main hand accuracy. Mine is not accuracy capped right now. I'll work on that later. But right here is your chance to poison. So we want to get that to 100. It also tells you where it's all coming from, because if we got a very good belt, I get 28 out of each of the jewels in that belt, which is quite a lot. I actually only need a tiny bit better belt, and I wouldn't need to use a jewel in the tree, which would be great. But there we go. That's where you find that. So that's how you work out your own. That should be everything. This has been an absolute fantastic league start. Oh my god, I forgot Feeding Frenzy the whole time. I am so sorry. It is so late here. We actually have slightly more damage than that. 10 mil. Tell you what, gonna leave it off. Pretend I didn't see it. It's real late. Shh. No one noticed. Alright. Fantastic. I'm going to bed. I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.